Gibson Nascimento. I am the head of solutions for Sensedia, looking after the EMEA region. And the talk that I'm going to be giving here today, it's about the 5 steps to the open journey, as I used to call. And why open journey? It's because there have been so many open initiatives, open banking, open finance, talks about open insurance, open health, that we're calling this as a journey, because overall, the steps are pretty similar. And just to give some context, these 5 steps here, it's not like a recipe that you just follow or it's something that we created. It's actually steps that we've been observing in our customers, and we said, why not share what we are doing and that we see that it's working. And then just to give, so how we split the steps was maybe, so in the previous talk we were talking about legacy enablement, legacy replacement. So the first step, it's about understanding what you have and enabling your data, so unlocking your backend. The second one, it's about changing the architecture, so how you get your architecture right in a way that you enable that legacy, that rich data that you have to be exposed. Third one, it's about changing the mindset and thinking about platform. So nowadays, it's all about creating ecosystems. It's about exposing and actually creating this platform, this way of thinking that is not just about me and my consumers, but how can I onboard partners? How can I reach to customers that I wouldn't reach before? And then we call this be serious about API care and developer experience. So how you make sure that your APIs are consumed in a good way. And last but not least, alignment between the strategy and the business as well. And just before I start talking about these steps, to give an idea of open banking initiatives and why open banking, it's because it's the hottest topic at the moment. Actually, it's not something new, but it's the burning topic, right? So just to give an idea of the amount of initiatives that we have around the globe. We have market-regulated initiatives, just like we have in the US. We have the UK, which is a good example of government driving the regulation and defining the standards, defining the rules. That, by the way, it's being followed by some other countries around the world as well. And we have places that haven't even started talking about it, but are thinking a bit about open banking. And then coming to the other initiatives, like I mentioned, we have like open finance, we have open insurance. The FCA released a call for input in 2019. The European Union also did the same, asking for inputs for information. Open insurance, it's something fairly new, but then we have, like again, Europe asking for information. Brazil, it's promising to be the country that is going to release the first open insurance regulation, apparently by the end of this year, start of next year. And something interesting, we're talking about open initiatives, right? But then if you think about the health space, there are no talks about open health. But if you think, for instance, the HL7, these guys are talking about standardizing the data exchange between applications that deal with patient information for a long time now. It's been nearly 10 years, and they have like a new version of the regulation. And even here, like in the UK, NHS has released in 2014 their first open API policy. So it's not something new, right? But we do have many initiatives talking about open up data powered by APIs, basically. And now talking about the steps. So when we think about, and by the way, please feel free to interrupt me. We do have space for Q&A, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate. About opening or unlocking the backend. Very important to mention that even though some companies are coming up with strategies to replace their backend applications, the old legacy applications, there's huge amount of valuable data there, right? So it's not just about finding ways to replace those legacy, but also about how we enable what is in the legacy and how exactly we take, not when I mention business value, it's not, oh, are we trying to reinvent the information that is there? No, it's how you manage to expose that data. So how you unlock the information. Conceptually, how you get something that is placed on a mainframe. Think about the amount of transactional data that a bank has from you. It's been your whole life there spending stuff, right? Tickets. So how exactly you get that information and transform it into something meaningful for your customer, meaningful for your ecosystem, so how you connect to fintech, for example. So thinking about all of these challenges that the companies may have, right, which they may have limitations with their backend applications, they cannot scale, security issues, compliance issues. So how you make sure that you can unlock that and still be compliant with the regulations, being able to protect your backend, so if you have too much volume of requests that you don't break, for example. And how you think from a business perspective, what exactly you want to do with that information. So do you want to bring new partners to make an easier partner onboarding? Do you want to innovate? Do you want to create digital products powered by APIs? Or do you want to create really, really innovative new products that are, again, based on the value of the data that we were discussing in the previous panel, for example? And I like to bring some examples as well of some customers that are using the rich information that they have to change the way that they're doing business. So we have Via, it's a marketplace. They were the first marketplace down in Brazil. And these guys, they changed it completely the way that they were exposing their back-end applications to onboard partners to an open API model where it's all self-service. And they changed it from 6 months to 3 weeks the time of onboarding a new partner, just by exposing standard APIs and open APIs. So once a partner gets access to their APIs, they're ready to go. Of course, there are some legal requirements, signatures, but IT is not a problem anymore. Another one, it's an insurance company called SulAmérica. So these guys are over 100 years traditional insurance company, and they changed completely their approach to think about API first. So every new product, it's born based on an API. They don't sell any new product if there's no API associated to it. And I could keep mentioning some others here, but the idea is that once you understand what you want to do, what is the business model that you are trying to pursue, then it's about thinking how you're going to expose that business. That's the first step. The second one, it's okay, I understand what I want to do, what I have in my park of applications, of information, but then how exactly I'm going to do that. So then it's about thinking or rethinking the architecture to enable you to expose your data, your services. And the challenge, again, like I said at the start of the session, I call open journey because it's the same challenge for all the businesses. Across all businesses, what we have is we have legacy applications that contain huge amount of information, rich information, and we want to deliver those to our customers, to the new wearables that we have, to the new ecosystem. So it's the same challenge. How you deliver all of these products with quality to the new ecosystem that you have. Then it's something interesting that Gartner has been talking for not a long time, but it's a concept called Composable Architecture. It's actually a bit bigger. It's called Composable Enterprise that contains Composable Architecture, Composable Business, so there's a bit more. But when it comes to the business architecture, Composable Business Architecture, the idea is that if you have a legacy application, you create packages of business capabilities. So what they call PCPs, packaged business capability. So you build your capability in a small and concise way that would allow you to expose services out of that capability. And services could be an API, request response online. It could be something that goes with an event. So thinking about business events, you notify your consumer instead of waiting for them to come to you. And you could even have some other interfaces. And then once you have many of these business packaged solutions, you actually start composing capabilities to create new products. So if you think that you have a capability that performs risk assessment and you have another capability that does, let's say, account opening, so it's a account management capability. And as part of your business process to open an account, you also need to reuse your risk assessment capability. So you basically compose one single service, you expose one service to your partners, that in fact it's a composition of multiple of these packages. And then again, you can leverage as many channels as you want. You can sell this to your own internal channels, to partners, to end consumers as well, or even internally. But again, you are reusing all the same capabilities that you build only once, and you reuse multiple times. And the way that we see this evolving is that once you understand what are the challenges, you define your architecture, that you then find what are the tools, what is the tool set that you need to enable you to expose your APIs, to manage your events, and also to manage those services. Not being too technical here, but if you're implementing microservices, how you manage your microservices as well. And something very important, there are some additional skills that have to be built. It's not just about, yes, we know what we want to do. We are reviewing our architecture. We are going to expose APIs. Everybody's exposing APIs. But then, even before that, there is a huge cultural change, a shift in the way that the companies are working to bring more business together. And this is something that we were also discussing, right? So it's about involving the business people, so becoming more agile and making the life cycle not 6 months anymore, but having that as a smaller time frame that you can then test, have the business earlier, understanding what you're doing, and then that you're thinking about products and not just point-to-point integration. So it's not what about application A needs from application B, but how application B can expose a product, can expose a service, for example. It's also about thinking how you govern all of these APIs that you're exposing. So understanding what are the situations that you have for one business unit that may not apply for the second business unit. So you may have a PCI compliance environment and you need more testing than a regular environment. So adaptive governance. So how you adapt the governance of your APIs based on the requirements that they need. Mesh architectures for microservices. Again, not being too techy here, but how you make sure that the growing number of services, because now you're going to build very small things, small products, and then it will grow, and grow. So, but how you make sure that you don't get yourself in a messy situation. And last but not least, how you expose your APIs. Do you want to expose them internally only? Do you want to open them for the market? Or do you want to have a more controlled way? So understanding the model that you're going to use to expose your APIs. Another example, Elo, they are a card issuer, and they have issued more than 140 million cards. They had this monolith anti-fraud risk assessment application that wasn't performing very well, and they said, okay, we need to change something. We know what we want to do, we understand the business behind this, So then how can we be more efficient? How can we change our performance? And basically, they said, yeah, let's understand how we can create these smaller applications. They changed their approach. They managed to get a new solution in place, and they increased in 15 times their response, their performance. Not just by changing the architecture, but by understanding what was the business requirement, understanding what kind of technology or architectural patterns could help them in achieving their results. The third one, I mentioned about platforms, right? So we have a few good examples here of very known platforms like Uber. Uber, it's a fully open platform. Anyone can create an application and connect with Uber. So you can book a flight, and then you can, in the middle of the process, being asked, do you want to book a Uber ride between your home and the airport? Yes, I want, and then you book everything. It's frictionless. You don't even know that you are triggering a Uber API, but that's happening behind the scenes. And then we have Amazon with a more protected, controlled environment. It's a marketplace powered by APIs, but then Amazon needs to know who you are before they give you credentials. So it's not that you just go there, create your credentials, and you start selling. No, you will be allowed to do that, but they need to know you. Or you have Netflix that has a fully private model where they are the only users of their APIs. Again, it's depending on how open you want to be, the level of complexity changes as well. But something very interesting is that platform, it's a different approach for business. And in the next slide, there's a very interesting phrase that the new model now is not about the competition, the direct competition. It's more about what you do from an ecosystem standpoint. So how you create an ecosystem or how you position yourself in that ecosystem. Do you want to be the owner of the ecosystem, or do you want to be part of the ecosystem? And again, I have some interesting stories here from customers of us that basically they created their marketplaces. I have an interesting one. These guys here, Porto Credit, they are a credit firm, and funny enough, they created a marketplace and they brought all the competition to sell credit products within their own marketplace. So if you think maybe 10 years ago, if you have a competitor selling with you, sitting with you on a desk and negotiating credit with a possible customer, that would be ridiculous. But nowadays it's not. It's a different model. Instead of trying to find, okay, what is the product to reach this new part of the society that I don't have any contact, it's through partners. So they manage to bring partners, not competitors, to sell and be able to reach new customers that they wouldn't do before. And then just to wrap up here, again, competition is not only about the companies, but more about the ecosystem. So where exactly do you want to position yourself? The fourth step, like I was saying, it's about being serious, about really taking care of your APIs. There's no good API strategy or open strategy if your APIs are not used. So your API strategy will only really succeed if you have partners consuming your APIs, or if you have a good developers community consuming your APIs. Otherwise, you created APIs and yeah, they're there. A good example of this, I didn't say this, it's the PSD2 regulation, right? The regulation is really good, but it's all about compliance. And that's one of the things that we keep talking to our customers. Open banking is not just about the PSD2 regulation. The regulation, it's there. It's really good to make sure that there is a more fair competition between banks and fintechs. But open banking, it's about opening more data that the banks have, for example. So how you explore all of that. But then, if you just comply with the regulation, or if you create your APIs and you don't provide a good documentation, if you don't monitor your APIs, you don't understand the behavior of the consumers of your APIs, and you just have your portal there with the documentation, then your strategy really is not going ahead. So the idea is that you do provide your API consumers with a good experience. So they understand what they are doing, they understand how they should use your APIs, and more important, if they need any assistance, could be that they're struggling to implement something, or if they're having any issues, that they know that they can actually use you as a way to understand what they're doing, and not just, okay, here's documentation, off you go, good luck. So we split this into two different things. One is the developer experience, where your developers, the API consumers, will understand exactly what they have. They will have a good experience as well. But also API care, so understanding the word of your API. So understanding the behavior, keep monitoring those APIs to really take some good and rich data from that, because then you can perhaps change your approach. So if you're understanding that maybe one of your APIs is not being very, very used, or that you're having too much errors, okay, what is going on? Do I need to change something? Do I need to change the contract? So what is the behavior, or what do I need to do to change the behavior and have a more successful API journey? And interesting, the management of this whole ecosystem, because you may be exposing APIs for the developers community, building apps. You may be also exposing APIs for partners, because you have a different style of integrations with your partners. And you may have an innovation center, you may have marketplaces, you may have different initiatives. So making sure that all of this ecosystem is properly managed, it's part of the success of your API as well. Otherwise, part of it will not be as efficient as it could be. And last but not least, there's no point in understanding everything that you're doing, in having a good architecture, having good API care, if you don't align your API strategy with the business strategy. I heard this in one of the talks here, that business should be involved as soon as possible. So business, it's not just to validate at the end if the strategy worked or not. Actually, business has to be brought as soon as possible to the conversations, because there's no more IT strategy and business strategy. They should be actually brought together, because one depends on the other. And then when we say API playbooks, it's just a matter of having, it's not a framework, but you have something that can be replicated, that you can run over and over again. If you have a new initiative, you just don't lose track of what you're doing. Just to close, Sensedia, we believe that once you have these playbooks, you have a good tool to support you as well, or a good set of tools. That is how you are going to succeed in the API strategy. And telling who we are a company that basically all we do is APIs. We have services, and we have products as well to support our customers in their API journey, as we call, to be as much successful as we can. Okay, if there are no questions, or if you want, please, we have a booth here. Tony, my colleague, is here with me, also Georgiana. And Anna, if you want to catch up later, ask any questions. Doesn't need to be about APIs. Just to have a chat. More than happy to have a chat later. Thanks for joining. Hope it was useful for you. Hope you enjoyed the event. Thank you.